Right, welcome back. The sport of martial arts is gaining popularity, and that has resulted in EFC's video content reaching over 1 billion views on Facebook in just over 5 months. That's an average of 200 million minutes watched every month this year. Joining us to discuss these numbers, we're joined via Zoom by EFC President Cairo Hawath. Cairo, thank you so much for your time, and I just want to put those numbers into perspective very quickly for our viewers. I did a bit of research, and it says here if those minutes were played out on one timeline, it would take over 380 years to watch. And that is just the minutes of EFC content viewed on Facebook, which is absolutely insane. So, Cairo, no other sport or entertainment property on the African continent has such a huge viewership on Facebook. So why do you think it is that the EFC brings such a huge audience?
I think we're at that stage where the sport has matured and it's got to the point where it's really ramping up and taking off. The type of content that EFC provides, mixed martial arts content, it's short, it's punchy, it's exciting. It's the type of content that people watch on their mobile, on their phone, and consume on Facebook. And that's what we're seeing here. We're just seeing exciting, bite-sized content, if you want to call it that, couple minutes long, fights, exciting finishes, knockouts, that type of thing that people are watching, and it's just taken off and gone around the world. And like you said, we're getting 200 million minutes viewed per month consistently every single month, which is quite staggering.
So as you said, it's nice and short, it's punchy, it's exciting, it's what people enjoy. But over the past 5 months, the numbers really shot up, especially in January. When I look at the graph here, January specifically, out of all of the past 5 to 6 months, is where you had a huge spike. What specifically was happening in January that has made viewers so excited to go ahead and pay more attention to EFC?
That's the interesting thing. We weren't even hosting a live broadcast in January. So that was purely content that we had already been filmed, that fights that we had filmed over the last 12 years that we had recut and then posted up on our Facebook page. And they just kind of kicked off and did really well and just got a lot of traction. So a couple of the videos went viral. It was an exciting knockout that people from around the world were watching. I mean, when you're getting that kind of audience, we're obviously not just talking about South Africans. We're talking about the majority of the views are coming from the States, from Brazil, from Indonesia and Philippines, and obviously all over Europe and Africa. But it's really just the world has woken up to mixed martial arts, and also specifically African mixed martial arts. There's a big spotlight on the sport in Africa at the moment. There's multiple UFC champions from Africa at the moment, and we've just seen in lockdown, when all the other sports kind of stopped for a while, mixed martial arts was the main sport that was dominating and doing really well. And we've just seen exponential growth over the last 2 years, and that is now showing in our Facebook analytics and stats.
Yeah, I think with you mentioning UFC, in Africa we do have 3 Africans that everybody loves, which is Francis Ngannou, Israel Adesanya, as well as Usman. Yes, Usman is the 3rd one, who is one of the African giants that we all really enjoy watching. So now that you've had these views, you're obviously doing something right. Are you planning on keeping things the way they are? You know, don't mess it up, don't fix what isn't broken? Or do you guys have other new things to get more fan engagement in the next following months, considering that you have now had the billion views? Is there anything else more exciting that you're planning on doing?
I think what we're seeing, what's nice is it's kind of snowballing. So those viewers that have now tuned in, call it, to our Facebook page and watched our content, they're now staying on there. So we saw the previous 3 or 4, 5 months before this was lower. It's increased exponentially in the next 5 months, and we're just expecting that to continue and go. Effectively, there are hundreds of millions of mixed martial arts fans around the world, and a whole bunch of them have now found our Facebook page and our content, and they're enjoying it, which is why they keep coming back and watching these videos. So we'll keep getting that traction. We projected to hit easily 2 billion minutes viewed of our content on our Facebook page by the end of this year, which is absolutely massive. It delivers such huge value to our brand as EFC, to the athletes that compete for us, to African mixed martial arts, and obviously to all of our partners that we integrate into that branding. It's quite massive from a sport and entertainment perspective for an African property like this.
It definitely is massive. So I want to ask you two things last night. Of course, there was an EFC event last night at the EFC Performance Institute. I want to know how that went. But before I ask you that, with you saying it is quite massive, COVID-19 has changed a lot. It's changed how we do things, even in corporate, when it comes to no longer having in-person meetings and doing everything via Zoom or via Teams. And so many people also sadly lost a lot of income during COVID. And I think something like Facebook makes it actually a bit more affordable than having to consider, you know, having DSTV or whatever the case might be to pay for. So do you also think that you're having a bigger crowd on Facebook because it's readily available? You always have your cell phone with you. It's a bit cheaper to do that versus paying for an entire package at the end of the month?
Yeah, I think, you know, we're very fortunate with EFC. We've got multiple broadcast platforms. So we do broadcast live on television, pay TV, free to air, plus on Facebook and the likes digitally as well. So we try and make our content available to anyone wherever they are. So if you're a Facebook user, we'll make our content available to you on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, we'll put it on YouTube. If you're on, you know, whatever TV station, we try to get to as many different platforms as possible. But you're 100% correct. A lot of people have been just consuming a lot more content on Facebook over the last 2 years. I think a lot more people are spending more time at home or, you know, wherever it is, and just spending more time on their phones. So we've certainly seen a huge uptick in it. And I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon. If anything, I just think it's just going to continue growing.
And the event last night, how did that go?
Yeah, so we had a show. It was last week Saturday. It was very successful. It was a really interesting title fight. We had Cameron Simon, who was really young challenger, challenging Sandile Manangela for his title, which is Sandile's first title defense. And Cameron ended up winning the fight over 5 rounds on a decision. So it was a interesting fight to watch because it was two athletes that didn't smack talk each other. They're very respectful of each other before, but just because of their skill set and the two individuals, how interesting they are, it was still a great fight to watch and get behind.
So, Cairo, we had quite a sad incident happen with one of the South African boxers. His name is Simiso Buthelezi, and he passed away after sustaining an injury that he had in a match. And I'm not certain if you had a chance to watch that match, but in part of the match, you can actually see how disorientated he becomes because he starts boxing towards the ref and then he starts boxing into the corner of the ring. And there's nobody standing in the corner, but he's obviously so disorientated that he can't see that there's nobody there. And sadly, he ended up passing away from that injury. So EFC, UFC as well, you know, these are quite contact sports. So remind us all of the safety precautions that are taken into consideration at EFC, and speak to us also about the importance of all of these safety precautions when it comes to boxing, when it comes to EFC and UFC, to ensure that incidents like these don't happen.
Yeah, it's exceptionally sad what happened, and our condolences to him and the family and the whole boxing fraternity. It's obviously terrible when things like this happen. Our opinion is boxing does not do enough, especially in South Africa, from a medical point of view. EFC, we set our safety standards and our medical procedures far, far higher than anything that Boxing South Africa does or any boxing promoter in South Africa does. So we really set the bar from an industry point of view. And contact sport in Africa, it is a contact sport. It's dangerous. So we just need, our job is to make it as safe as possible and to try minimize first the injuries taking place in the first place, and then the after effect of those injuries if they do take place. So to run through the type of stuff that EFC does, obviously we do drug testing, we do HIV and hepatitis testing pre-bouts, we do concussion testing. I think we're the only mixed martial arts, only combat sport organization in the world that runs a concussion program. So we get baseline tests of our athletes when they're out of training, and then we test them coming up to fights to see if they have a concussion. Before they fight with EFC, we do a pre-fight MRI and MRA brain scan. Again, we're the only combat sport organization in Africa that does anything like that. So we're looking for a pre-existing condition in the brain that might lead to a problem in the fight, like a bleed on the brain. We actually pulled one of our fights from this last event. We pulled a fighter, an athlete, off the card because we picked up something in a brain scan that we were not happy with. So we removed it. So we're hoping things like that stop it before it gets to what we saw with the boxing this last week. Obviously boxing doesn't do these type of pre-scans, which is very disappointing. We wish they would. And then on the night, we have 3 trauma doctors, we have 12 paramedics, we have 2 ambulances, we have advanced life support, we have put down guarantee or payments with eNCA, Sunny Hill Hospital, as well as Mill Park, which treats our P1 patients. We have neurosurgeons on call. So we have the absolute maximum that you can do, if I can say it that way. In fact, in our last event a month ago, we had 4 athletes that we sent to hospital for further checkups, and one of them ended up spending 10 days in ICU. And I fear that it could have been similar to the boxing outcome had they not had the kind of treatment that we had at our show, with our on-site medical team, as well as our post, the best medical care, literally in Mill Park, which is the best, P1 treatment facility in Johannesburg. So, it's really sad when stuff like this happens in the boxing world. It can happen in any combat sport. But our job, what we believe, is to try and minimize that as much as possible, which is exactly what we do. We invest substantial amounts of money and substantial amounts of time and energy into our medical procedures, and they're never perfect. They can always be improved, and we work on them every single day. And we just really wish that the rest of the boxing and combat sports in Africa would follow at least what we're doing, or try to do similar.
Cairo, very quickly before you go, now that you have got your 1 billion minutes views on Facebook, what are your plans? What's EFC's plans on getting the fans involved? I'm actually seeing a lot of sporting codes focusing on fan engagement. So is there anything exciting that you guys have planned for fans?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. One, what's also just on Facebook itself, we have a lot of views, a lot of minutes viewed, but we also actually have a massive amount of engagement. So a lot of our fans, those viewers, aren't just watching it. They're sharing, they're liking, they're commenting, which is obviously what you want from an organization point of view. But really our big push at the moment is just to get our content in front of more fans as possible, make our athletes more accessible, just give out more content, get behind the scenes stuff, do competitions, all of those type of things. So yes, we don't have 10,000 people in our arenas at the moment with the kind of COVID restrictions that we're still dealing with, but we have many, many more people engaging with our content on a daily basis than we've ever had before. There's never been a bigger audience watching EFC and African mixed martial arts as there is today. So we're really excited about the future. We know the next 6 months is going to be huge for us, and then 2023 we just want to continue building on what we've done so far.
Cairo, we're going to have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much for your time. A big congratulations to you and your team for getting the 1 billion views there on Facebook.